Welcome back. Now, we left you in the last episode having just arrived at a historical site that we know very little of at this stage.
So we're going to walk up to what is the crash site.
The plane touched down at 8:40 a.m, skidded and nosedived into the soft peat. And we're also determined to get out in the fresh Irish air for a walk.
So there's a Marconi station here and also the crash site.
When you say crash site?
That's where the plane crashed.
Oh. They've built replica Vimmies and done the journey.
The flight, you mean?
The flight, yeah. The original flight had a small amount of mail on it, so it made it the first mail transatlantic air post.
Okay.
Basically.
So here's the flight here. Right. There's the plane.
Well,
June the 16th, 1919. So it was a year after the war ended, I think. So transatlantic flight from Newfoundland to Clifden in Ireland.
Yeah.
So there's also a Marconi station here. I think it's a bit like the one we saw down on, what was that head? Brow Head. We're out for a walk. We're doing our bit. So there's a bit of a cold wind. So it's multiple layers today. So we're going to walk up to what is the crash site, and there's also nearby is the Marconi site that's in the area. In the distance we're framed by the snowy dusting that's gone onto the mountains there. In fact, this is the road that we tried to come up.
In 2005,
yeah,
there was an American guy that built a replica Vimy plane.
Oh yeah.
But he didn't land at the original site, he landed at Connemara
okay.
Golf Club. As you do.
As you do, yeah. So this must have been quite a journey.
Yeah.
From Newfoundland all the way over the Atlantic. I don't know how long it took them, I'll have to find that out. Layers is definitely the way forward today. It's not freezing, but it's just a coldness about it we're not used to, I don't think. Also, I didn't put my thermals on today, and I should have done. That's probably why I'm feeling it more, because I haven't got my bloody thermals on. I suddenly realised. So this road here was a park up, I thought, at the top, where there was a potential park up for us at the end, but it looks like they blocked it off with a gate when we tried earlier. So I've got one more place on my park ups to try out. Other than that, we'll have to get the map back out again. We'll find somewhere there. Right, what's this? So this is quite a heavily guarded entrance, apparently, to the Marconi's wireless station. You had to present papers before you could go on. So that's why there was, during the First World War, the station was guarded by British Army troops. But here is the site of where the barracks was, I guess. It's all gone down. We could have gone on. It just says please keep gate closed. So I guess I don't think I would have done that.
Would you?
No. So Jane's on Google at the moment, trying to find some facts. I'd like to know how long it took them to fly. And you also said
15 hours and 58 minutes.
15 hours and
58 minutes.
And then they crashed here. That's not bad, that isn't? In such an old plane.
Whilst flying the new Vickers Viking amphibian plane to the Paris Air Show.
Okay, so he crashed at Rouen in France?
Yeah.
Oh wow. I don't know if we saw that, you know, when we were in France. We might have seen that fact in France. Rings a bell now. And I don't know why it rings a bell. I'm sure we came across that when we were in Rouen. We're getting all our facts mixed up. That's a sight you won't get bored of, is it?
No.
It's about a 15-minute walk from the car park. I must admit, I can't see it.
I don't know if you can hear me. This is us in life. Stu's like fast and just all over the bloody place.
Fairly neat though.
And that's my pile because of the
OCD.
OCD. Look at that. I don't know who did that, but they ought to be really proud of themselves. That's amazing.
It's all drying there now, I think.
Now picture this, it's 1907 and this boggy patch of land becomes a stage for a world-changing moment. This is where Marconi, the radio pioneer, set up shop to send the first commercial wireless messages across the Atlantic. Well, back in the day, this place was buzzing with massive buildings. Oh, and get this, they had 8 wooden masts, each 210 feet tall, stretching half a kilometre across the hill, holding up 12 kilometres of wire. And you can only imagine what that was like swaying in the Irish wind. And the purpose? Simple but groundbreaking, connecting Europe and North America without a single wire. And it was the WhatsApp of its time, only with a lot more dots and dashes.
This was the first commercial transatlantic wireless station. It operated between 1907 and 1922. We can see the old foundations here of the building that was there. So that's the powerhouse that was built in around 1911. And over there, that's where the powerhouse would have been.
Unfortunately, it was caught up in the Irish Civil War in 1922 and was closed down. We're heading up to the memorial cairn that was installed 500 metres from the crash site. They have these interesting photographic slides that allow you to look across the landscape, bringing the scene back to life. The plane touched down at 8:40 AM, skidded and nosedived into the soft peat, damaging the front but luckily sparing the aviators. Amazingly, they both emerged unharmed, their crash landing marking a victorious, if not bumpy, end to an epic feat that changed aviation forever.
I'd definitely say that's worth the visit. It's about a 40-minute walk, I would say, there and back.
It wasn't 15, was it?
No, it wasn't 15.
We then spot on Google Maps the second memorial site nearby. So we take a look, and we're so glad we did, despite the wind really picking up. Wow, that's incredible.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
Just a view. It's one of those moments where it's worth coming up,
Yeah,
up to the top of a hill.
Yeah.
It's really windy outside, so I won't be able to say it, but I was just, look at that house. It's like on its own little island.
So this memorial is right in line with the flight path that when they came into land, I don't know if you see in the distance, you might not pick up on it, but there's that white marker that we walked to, and they crashed apparently several hundred yards from that marker. So John Alcock and Arthur Whitten Brown, the first men to fly non-stop across the Atlantic Ocean they were. It was on the 15th day of June 1919. They landed in their aircraft. They set off from Newfoundland 16 hours and 27 minutes before. It was a Vickers Vimy biplane, probably I'm guessing out of the First World War that design was. It was powered by 2 Rolls-Royce engines. The average speed of the flight was 115 miles an hour.
So I think this memorial was placed up here because it just gives you such a great view of where they landed, you know, in the landscape. It's quite incredible. The views just ain't half bad. Oh. I know, I've got to get out now.
That is in line.
Yes.
You can see it in the distance.
Yes. So you can appreciate it, I think, isn't it?
No, it's actually really good. So it's worthwhile. Definitely. But it's bitter out there.
I've got to go out there now.
You've got to go out.
Okay.
Right, it's time for us to find a park up, and our journey takes us through the town of Clifden, which we'll explore in more detail in our next episode. We head out on the Sky Road loop, which runs for 16 kilometres on a looped route from Clifden. It takes you onto the Kingston Peninsula, which is also part of the Wild Atlantic Way. The route separates and has a lower and upper road. Of course, we go for the popular upper road, and it does not disappoint. Please consider clicking now on that subscribe button. It's free and simply adds the channel into your YouTube watch list, but it really helps us. We're also on social media. And if you like what we do and want to support us further, there is a Buy Me a Coffee link in the description. And what a location!
Thoughts?
Yeah. Why are you having doubts?
Huh?
Oh, I thought you were joking.
No.
I mean, I didn't think you were joking.
It's a bit of a wow moment, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
We're just west of Clifden on a park for night place. The wind's picking up tonight, so we're going to get it. Well, what a spectacular place. I mean, the waves you won't be able to see, but over there they're hitting rocks, and they must be going up 20-30 feet up in the air. And this is an island here with houses on.
And this turned out to be a favourite little corner of the Atlantic Way for us. With the sun setting, we'll leave this episode here, but we'll see you in the next one as we spend time in this stunning area.